I have the pleasure to introduce my good friend, Dr. Rohaizat Yoon. Dr. Rohaizat Yoon is our Deputy Director General of Medical Development. He actually was just retired less than a month ago. I'm sure you have seen him every day with beside that Tan Sri DG in the press conference. Because we miss him so much, we call him back to work. So he is now on contract and came back on the 6th of August and now working as a Deputy Director General of Medical Development. Dr. Rohaizat is a public health specialist and specialized in the area of health management, health financing, and health economics. He has been the Deputy DG in the Division of Public Health before, and now he is he contributes a lot in medical development. Without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Rohaizat to present the plenary 2, which is a holistic hospital preparedness strategies against impending COVID-19 tsunami. Ready for the worst, striving for the best. The floor is yours, Dr. Rohaizat.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera, salam sihat. Yang bahagia Datuk Dr. Goh Pipin, Director of NIH and also as moderator of this session. Yang bahagia Datuk Dr. Chong, Deputy DG of Public Health, from participant, from representative from CRES Malaysia, from CRM, all senior clinicians, all specialists, all researchers, pharmacists, dentists, medical officers, staff nurses, PPP, allied health sciences, all personnel, and all who are watching this session. Thank you. And my presentation is about hospital readiness. Next. And this is my flow of presentation. Very quickly touch about item 1, whereby item 2, quite a number of them has been elaborated by by Tan Sri DG and by Dr. Chong. And I'll focus more on hospital. How did we do? Next. And I think you have seen this slide earlier. If you realize, we are basically somewhere like here, situation 2. We are like situation 2, whereby we have the peak, and it's still the COVID cases are still high. And what I intend to show here is that the stress to hospital side, if you look at here, this is very, very stressful. We need to identify bed for that. And again, now the cases are still present in Malaysia. Next. And this has been mentioned earlier. The key point here is that in December last year, we already prepared. Our hospital already prepared to get ready for the outbreak of COVID-19. Next. And you look at here, we learned from Wuhan. Yeah, we learned from Wuhan. I think the beauty is that we got it later. So we learned from Wuhan how basically Wuhan tackle and manage hospital during the outbreak. Next. And it is basically a reality whereby January, as I mentioned earlier, December last year, it was notified by China, WHO. January, we already prepared. And again, followed by February, we met the press conference. We already ready for whatever eventualities. Next. And I think you can see this illustration. Many months ago, we were here on the left-hand column. And after that, we did very well. Instead of we are here, they positioned us on the right-hand side here, and whereby we among the best country in the world who get less number of COVID and less number of deaths. This is the illustration how good our hospital is in managing COVID. Next. And I think all of you know about this, and I just want to highlight that how did we do our story in hospital setting. You can see here, the moment we got the first detected on 24th January, hospital already doing very active training. We mobilize resources. We already prepare for the worst. And after that, you see, absence of cases in 5 days. And after that, second wave. During second wave, and then we can see the peak, 26 February, GLC, cluster GLC, followed by cluster Sri Petaling. And you must remember, You must remember during 25th February until 9 March, we don't have Prime Minister, we don't have the cabinet, only Prime Minister alone, and we don't have Deputy Prime Minister, no Health Minister, only DG of Health around. And based on previous decision of the cabinet, only one of these 4 persons can make decision. Imagine during this 2-week period is very, very stressful, not only to hospital setting, for the country as a whole. And you can see the impact on our health system. And after that MCO, and then this MCO is very, very important because as you remember cluster Sri Petaling, spike of cases, the question is that are we ready with our hospital? How much, how long that we need to get ready our hospital into equipment and so on. So MCO is very, very important. And this is first time ever in Malaysia we implement MCO, and it helped us a lot. Of course, at that time, I think you all remember, and many people critic and not happy that we implemented MCO. But now we can see what is the outcome. And now 10 June, after that recovery, I think we can see that again, we got several clusters. Next. And this is very important, yeah? The slide very important. Shifting of the government. Shifting of the government, but we, clinician, public health specialists, and so on, with or without government, with the leadership of Tan Sri DG, we go ahead, we fight, we manage COVID in our hospital. Because all of us, technical people, at all level, at program perubatan, at state level and hospital, basically, our concern is about patient care, and our priority also our hospital staff and so on. So I think you can see that. Next, this is our secret. And you have seen this slide. We have seen this slide, but let's see. Let's see look at it differently. You just imagine, okay, just imagine, maybe the Hakim can need to manage for me. You look at cluster executive, and you look at there, cluster Sri Petaling, yeah? Look at cluster executive, and look at cluster Sri Petaling, suddenly we can see a lot of cases. The question is that, how did we do? Are we at that time, you just imagine down there, you can see the date. You imagine how did we do to mobilize sudden surge of cases? Sudden surge of cases. This is real tremendous stress to our hospital, stress to our specialists. And you know that how many ID specialists we had all over Malaysia, how many physicians that I mean our generalists that able to help us, how many our intensivists and so on. So you can see the after cluster Sri Petaling, that is real stress to our hospital. Next, you can see on the right hand side the cluster Siva Ganga, and again cluster Tawau, and then this is to share with you the feeling. How did we do? How did our hospital people, our hospital staff manage COVID and treat COVID and so on? Next. Yeah. And I think you have seen what been mentioned by JP Morgan and MEER. MEER predicted 10,000 cases of COVID in mid-April, and JP Morgan 6,003. My question is that, if 6,003 cases predicted by Morgan will become a reality, we all, program perubatan, must get ready with 6,300 beds. How do we do that? Are we going to do like other countries, simply discharge non-COVID patient from the ward? No, the answer is no. The answer is no. Although what happened during that day, what JP Morgan predicted did not materialize. I think because what we did, public health side, hospital side, and the number did not reach 6,003. Again, when they predicted this, 6,003 beds are required, and we have to keep this patient for 14 days. My God. Are we ready? It's a huge problem. So that's why the CPRC program perubatan monitor every day hospital status and so on. Next. And you can see this is our modeling, and the blue one if SOP is followed, and the red one is SOP not followed. So based on this modeling, I think Malaysia, I think particularly the hospital division, the hospital side, the medical program need to be alert. we hope the modeling remain blue, not the red one, because it is really put the stress on our hospital side. Next. And imagine, we are not only managing COVID, we have to manage non-COVID. That's why look at this slide. We have been shown by our previous speakers, DG and also Dato' Chong. Hospital CPRC is very vital. And down there, hospital operation. We manage this one every day. We monitor which hospital, how many more beds left. How do we mobilize resources? How we mobilize the equipment and so on. So hospital CPRC and hospital operation room are very vital. We monitor daily because you remember, we do not know, we do not know whether 6,003 will come or maybe what Mia predicted, 10,000 cases will appear. That is real killing us. I think you all know that in other countries, overseas, they ventilate patients at the corridor. One ventilator shared by 3 to 5 patients. And in other hospitals, they don't care. They just discharge non-COVID patient. So a patient die at home. So we do not want that happen to our hospital patient. Next. And look at here. What are our hospital strategies? 4 main strategies. And repeatedly during our daily briefing, our webinar with our specialists, with public, private, with Angkatan Tentera, with IJN, with private hospital and so on. Number 1, clinical care for COVID patient. Improve care, reduce mortality, increase cure rate. Increase cure rate. This is our objective. We do it every day. Number 2, our mission in hospital side, medical program, protect healthcare workers. Never ever allow our healthcare workers get COVID in managing COVID cases in our hospital. You know, you see the other countries, so many doctors, nurses died while managing COVID cases. But we are happy in Malaysia, not a single healthcare workers infected by COVID in COVID ward. They do get COVID in, when they went for gathering, they went abroad and so on, but none. So this is very, very important. Number 2, yeah. You must keep our healthcare workers, the momentum, the morale and so on. And number 3, service continuity. We care. Never ever look down at our non-COVID cases. Our non-COVID cases, particularly our hemodialysis patient, yeah, our cancer patient who need surgery, we cannot jeopardize that. And number 4, very important, if we do well, our health industry, our local manufacturer, the public will benefit. So whatever we do in hospital setting, you know, the moment we manage to treat more patients, create confidence, more industries will be open, yeah, will be open, and people will get income and so on. So these are 4 main broad strategies that been mentioned to all our healthcare workers. And then we have webinar every day, almost every day with TPK Perubatan, with Pengarah Hospital, with clinician. Next. And what did we do? I think we have seen this slide. Our screening hospital, 56, as soon as the Wuhan last year, December mentioned, we already created, we already developed 26 treating hospital. And we have 56 screening hospital. And remember our lab, 6 lab, and very few hospital able to isolate, to do the testing. But what has been done, IMR already did the work, even during early January. Even during early January, they have done that. And you can see that early containment, 25th January, we did not wait. We did not wait, yeah. From 56 screening hospital, we increased to 59. We want more accessibility. Everybody, all patients, yeah, from everywhere, they can do screening. And now we can see from 59, 120 hospitals can do screening. Because we cannot expect like last time when MCO, screening only can be done in that 59 hospital. During MCO, they cannot move. So we increase that and the capacity. Treating hospital from 26, 32, 40, and now we have 40, including our university hospital. They help us. In terms of bed, I told you, 1,661 bed. We have worked very, very hard. If JP Morgan prediction become reality, we will not be able to treat the patient. You can see that's why from 1661 bed, quickly we increase to double it to 3,000 and then 5,000. And you look at down there, low risk treating and quarantine center, because we know some patient, majority of patients are asymptomatic and mild. So we need that pusat quarantine berisiko rendah. And we developed that, you see, almost 4,000 bed. So this is how do we do. So then meaning all complicated patients will be treated in a hospital. All the mild cases will be treated in our quarantine center. As I mentioned to you earlier, the title, we must prepare for the worst, of course. Prepare ready for the worst and strive for the best. No choice. You can see that. Even during last late containment, we developed MyApp. And MyApp Hospital, we learned from China. China took 10 days. We did it in 3 days. And you look at the lab, our hospital now, 18 hospitals are able to do COVID testing. On top of that, we have other labs, MKA and AMIS and private, all together 58. So you can see these are very, very vital in managing COVID. Hospital bed, ventilators, and then the low-risk center, lab, and so on. And I think on top of that, ventilators, you can see, we double the number. We cannot take ventilator from non-COVID patient, because non-COVID also need to be given priority for treatment, yeah? Okay, next. And you can see that, how did we do in hospital setting? We manage patient properly. You can see the red color, number of patient admitted, and then we discharge, the green one. You can see we treat, discharge, meaning we did it very, very well. A lot of patients been treated and a lot of patients been discharged. Mortality rate is low. And by doing this, now we reduce stress to our hospital side, we reduce stress to our staff. Yeah, you see, we have to mobilize staff from all over. They have wife, they have husband, they are working here and there. At that time you can see even some of the staff, they have to take care of their family. So we at Ministry, we have to look after that. Not only looking after the patient. Look at what I mentioned to you earlier. Strategy number 1, strategy number 2, strategy number 3. Number 2 is healthcare workers. The boost confidence and so on. Next. Okay, what are our secret in hospital management? Solid management, solid governance, and our leadership in crisis. We make evidence-based as well as value-based and strategic planning that are vital. Yeah? I think this is, I thank everybody here. I think we all thank the clinician, we thank everybody, not only ID, but also generalists, general medicine, and then radiologists, surgeon, everybody. I think solid governance, we all work together. And if we look at hospitals, Sungai Buloh, and then even everybody managing COVID, yeah? And even though the surgeon, they are different, they are all help us in managing COVID. Next. And look at that. I think this is not what I said. This is what been reported by the Asia this week in Asia 26 February. The political situation, although it was very turmoil at that time, but our capacity, this has been written leadership in MOH, led by our DG of Health, able to manage COVID. I think, and then he mentioned, we work as a team. Yeah, we work as a team, and it is not only him. If you remember, he quoted me like a Panglima, but I would say that in a war, we need a Ketua Panglima, and we have many other Panglima managing public health, managing research, managing hospital. But remember, this Panglima cannot work alone. Because why? We have the Pendeka. Under Pendeka, we have Hulu Balang and Laskar. I here would thank all the Pendeka who stay with us, the frontliner, backliner, they rather die with us just to fulfill our mission to attack COVID. Thank you to all of them. Next. And you can see that the slide, this is how did we do in hospital setting. And then we get help from non-government organization, get help from private sector. Private sector loan us 71 ventilators, very, very short. And then some of them work with us, hospital, universities, UKM, USM help us in managing COVID, Police Diraja Malaysia, and also NATMA, Bomber, MKN, and all that. They help us, particularly if you look at in Maep Hospital, it's like one-stop center, we got everything. So the teamwork in hospital setting management is basically, these are the things. Yeah, we are not basically alone. That, thanks God, with that, and working together, help us in managing COVID. Next. And see, leadership in crisis, an anchor in the storm. Imagine gelombang, yeah? That's why I put the word tsunami. In that very, very huge tsunami, you do not know your future at the middle of the ocean. But no, we managed to sail safely, yeah? And okay, next. And this is very important. What did we do in the hospital? Doing the impossible. Together, everyone achieve more as a team. We have to influence people. We are competing for the less and fostering trust, service above ourselves. I think these are the trusts in hospital management. Next, let's see, doing the impossible. We never do MCO Act 342. We did it. We managed Sri Petaling cluster, flatten the curve. And you look at the right side, pusat karantin dan rawatan COVID berisiko rendah in Maep. And we did it in 3 days. We did it in 3 days. We are basically putting that on the world arena. And look at the middle. Look at the middle. And then Dato' Isham, at the time, still Dato' with me. We have dialogue with public group. How to help us. And look at that. Reduce all this doing the impossible. Reduces the stress to hospital setting. Enable our hospital for readiness. Because we cannot clone Dr. Suresh, Dato' Mahiran, you know. We cannot clone too many of Dr. Lech. We cannot claim Dr. Melo and so on and all that. So we need to get ready. So all this, we are doing basically the impossible. And thanks God, we managed. Next. And together, everyone, we will achieve more as a team, and we get help from everybody. And this is basically indirectly help our hospital preparedness. You can see even Duli Amanwir Paduka Baginda Agong pun melawat hospital. He almost cried when he looked at our staff at front backliners doing all the job. So together we help, and I mentioned to you earlier, even we get help from the Red Crescent and so on, and then look at down there PPE. That the key point, PPE. When we meet the enemies, we must have the weapon. No, without weapon, no, we cannot. Then over here, down there, we need the weapon, and then we need the shield. So you can see they all work together very, very hard. Next. Then competing for the less. That is really, really horrible. All over the world requires ventilators. All over the world require PPE. You can see that. You can look at that. Buying PPE online for care sector like the Wild West. This is reality. How can I cannot, no, medical program cannot stand. We cannot look at our dashboard. One of the hospital, the PPE can last for 1 day and can last for 2 days. That is crazy. If my daughter basically working at that hospital, you know, how do you feel? So that is real tricky. So we are basically competing for the less. This is a real thing. We have to do pembelian darurat. We have to convince the top government that this is the way to go. And look at down there, global need for PPE like Wild West, and down there, this is not what I said. This has been written by news. Malaysia searching N95 alternative of US block export. This is already mentioned by Malay Mail 14 April. Look, this is putting stress to our hospital staff. How can they treat patients without PPE? So, no, it's really I think the government has done very good in managing this. We will share it shortly later. Next. And then fostering trust and amid chaos. People said, what is this, Malaysia? Can you manage COVID hospital? Do we have enough specialists? How can we do? No confidence to MOH. They don't have confidence to MOH. They all blame us. They don't respect us. And then what happened? And then when they don't respect, even our healthcare workers become losing their morale. So fostering trust, when to create confidence to the rakyat and our capacity. You can see our high cure rate, low mortality that give us, everybody talk about that. See, Malaysia did very well. Enhance rakyat trust to MOH. We influence them, and then that's why we can use that to wear PPE, SOP, and so on. And then adequate trained healthcare personnel at all level hospital care. And then we created adequate bed, ICUs, ventilator, PPE, and the drug and the medicine. Okay, next. This is what we do. Service above ourselves. Sacrifice of hospital staff. They have to wear PPE. You cannot wear more than 4 hours. You can sweat like hell and you get infection. So that's why I think we did very well until even Malaysia was selected by the WHO in a global mega research for possible COVID-19 cure. This is what I did not. I said this will be reported. You can see service above self. After they work in the hospital, they want to go home, they think twice. They have to take shower or they need to go back. Some of them, they don't go back. They stay in the hotel. And you see, service above self. I think it's not only frontliners, but also involve backliners. But I think the morale and the booster, we make sure the morale is still high. Next. And medical program, anchor in the storm I mentioned to you earlier. Strategic communication, very vital. Program perubatan every day or every 2-3 days, video conferences. And then not including infographic WhatsApp group. We created, I think, 11 WhatsApp group with lab, with ID group, with private hospital, with IJN, and so on. And we constantly communicate with them, reduce anxiety. And then the government, you know that. And then medical resources in terms of equipment. And then workforce, this one we had to mobilize within short period of time. Imagine during the cluster Seri Petaling, we got to mobilize all over Malaysia. Within the state initially, then all over Malaysia. And then hospital operation and data. These are basically what we did, our strategic planning. Next. And then what did we do? Just to give you some feeling. We monitor this hospital bed very daily basis. We monitor daily basis, and down there, pre-op screening, we monitor it. It's like the surveillance, we monitor it very, very closely. On your right-hand side, PPE, we monitor. We do not want that any hospital like of this is what we did. Next. And data, daily monitoring of healthcare workers, fast remedial action. As I mentioned to you down there, no hospital staff get COVID in COVID ward during managing COVID. Look at other countries. Doctor died in managing COVID, not enough PPE, but not in Malaysia. But some of them got COVID outside, and then we had to close some of the that particular area, but we do not close the service. We relocate. We don't close the service. We relocate to other things. And then after that, like in Putrajaya Hospital, one of the staff got COVID from outside. So the hospital staff need to be quarantined. This put stress to hospital staff. So we had to mobilize resources from other department. And remember, the staff who have been quarantined, we had to find the conducive quarantine place for them. And you remember, when they are quarantined, how about their husband? How about their wife or their kid? And we need to prepare press statement whenever hospital staff get infection and whenever some like ED is affected in Teluk Intan and so on. So this is basically very, very crucial. And we monitored it gradually. It is not just monitoring. Look at that. Fast remedial action. I remember when presented during morning national secrecy by DG, presenting data are basically useless. All data are basically useless. But the ability to use data for management and decision making, these are powerful. Merely presenting data are basically no use to us. So presenting data is for remedial action. This is what we did. Next. We are continuously doing that. And look at data. You can see that we monitor every day. Next. And look at that. Another slide. This one, I almost cry. Imagine some hospital, it can only last for 1 day. And then look at next slide. Some hospital, you can look at Sandakan, and then look at Likas, and then at that time, Labuan. And then in one occasion, you know that there is no no airline going to Sabah, Sarawak. So how are we going to get the supply? So this is very, very, it would stress to ourselves. You know, as I mentioned to you earlier, we are doing the impossible. We cannot accept that. We bargain to everybody until we talk to Panglima Angkatan Tentera, and they provided us with a special flight at minimum 2 weeks, minimum twice per week, and it can accommodate 3 tons of anything that we can send to Sabah, Sarawak, and remote areas. So again, data very important in making decision for remedial action, and never say no. Never say no. Doing the impossible. Next, and here you can see our ordinary hospital, 4 type of hospital. During COVID, we developed 4 type of hospital. Number 1, become fully COVID, treating nothing else, COVID, COVID, and COVID. Basically, all the complicated cases. On top of that, we have hybrid COVID, meaning treat COVID cases, complicated one. Also, we treat non-COVID. And number 3, we never ever leave our non-COVID patient. We have non-COVID hospital. And as I mentioned to you earlier, number 4, we have a lot of these asymptomatic and mild COVID. We manage in low-risk quarantine and treatment center. These are the key points. And when we isolate them, not like in some countries, they don't isolate, and then they only treat the complicated one. All these patients who has low, very few asymptomatic and mild symptom transmit the disease to others. But it did not happen in Malaysia. Why? Number 4, we keep them. We isolate them for 14 days. Next. This is our story, yeah? And procurement, darurat, never ever no, I never ever say no. Look at that, the one that I can see at the middle. I just want to show you, yeah, the ventilators. Initially, they buy ventilator on normal way. But after that, what happened? They already bought the ventilators, but it was stranded in some countries. Why? No flight. No flight. Can you imagine if the prediction by JP Morgan become reality? A disaster to us. So again, doing the impossible, never say no. So we get special flight to bring back our ventilators. And down there, we buy PPE, we buy the ventilators like, buying like booking Agoda, blinking. The moment you are slow, it will be bought by other countries. So we get permission, buy this equipment, buy the devices without the equipment arrive. It's like Agoda and Trivago. If we are late, it will be bought by other countries. Remember, not only Malaysia is suffering with this, all over the world. So, and they allow that. How do we do that? We have to influence. We must influence, we must show that the important, doing the impossible. Next. And what happened? Hospital operation. We develop a lot of guidelines. We create confidence, we create guideline, we transmit to everybody. How to manage SARI, how to manage the ILI and so on. And then make sure everybody follows. And on your left-hand side, we monitor daily all the hospital performance, how many beds left and so on. And then it is basically the task of our staff. Yeah. Next. The same thing, guideline. We have distributed the guideline not only to MOH, but to private hospital, to IJN, AMI, and also universities. Next. And this, we monitor hospital operation, yeah, hospital bed. I mentioned to you earlier, carefully, and very careful illustration, very careful analysis for remedial action, for strategies. It's not, we did not discuss this just for the sake of looking at data. No, not the way. Next. And hospital operation, next. And again, hospital workforce. Imagine we have to hire, doing the impossible, hire from outside, get all the retired healthcare workers. We have not done it before. So we did it, yeah? We could look at it. This is what we did in a hospital setting. Next. And medical resources, you can see that, yeah? We get resources from other countries and help us. Next. And the governance is very important. The governance is one of the most important. And then because of that, you can see Malaysia among top 5 globally to have successful contain COVID-19. Look at right side. Malaysia respond COVID-19 building preparedness for surge capacity testing and containment have been praised. Malaysia have been relatively successful. All these are success story. can see all these are success stories. Malaysia's second in the COVID-19 fight success, because the ability of our specialists, our nurses, our allied health sciences, everybody, particularly in the hospital setting, is as I'm in hospital, in managing COVID. Next. And the strategic communication, very, very vital. This is how we use this to influence people, to influence our staff, to boost them. Next. And again, strategic communication, Prime Minister, Agong, and Datuk DG. Next. How this is the power of influence. How do we influence that? We need to purchase things according to darurat. We need to say no. Meaning, we cannot get the supply from outside. The answer is no. We must get the supply. We must get the chloroquine and so on. We cannot say no. Next. And here you can see that strategic communication, very vital. How basically all this enable us to influence. This one we talk to all the Menteri Besar. We talk to how we influence them to make sure they help us. Indirectly, we reduce the stress to our hospital and our hospital staff. Next. Again here, strategic communication, very, very vital. Next. And even go back. And you can see that on your left-hand side. And I was in Datuk DG with Songkok, pity us, no raya for us, no raya. We work 24 hours, 7 days per week, and they start as early as this one, and raya also have to work. This is what the reality. Next. And we must tell the public, the world, our success. Unity of Malaysian, the success in combating COVID, and Malaysia, and have been rated one of the best in Asian region in managing COVID. Next. And this is the illustration. Because of that, many sectors now can be open. And because of that, and people really praise our MOH for helping them. Otherwise, if you look at other countries, they are really chaotic. And I mentioned to you earlier regarding the hydrochloroquine. We want to buy hydrochloroquine at that time, and then we cannot get the supply. Lucky, and we have G2G with India. Lucky, after we signed, and India got the sudden outbreak. If we don't sign, we will not get the supply of hydrochloroquine. Always think outside the box. Think something worse will come, and then we are prepared for the best. Next. And the very essence of leadership is that you have to have vision, and you can blow an uncertain trumpet. This is what Theodore mentioned. The central focus of our action was the health and safety of every Malaysian, including our healthcare workers. Next. And you can see that. I think this is a very nice illustration. Even Incredible Hulk also cannot stand with COVID-19. And even Superman, you can see that. But this is reality. Next. And tribute to our healthcare workers. Next. And our frontliners work very, very hard. And we respect them. They help us. And don't forget backliners. Backliners are all the staff who work as early as 5 a.m. preparing the data. Preparing the data as early as 5 a.m. And by 7:30, by 6:30 or 7 o'clock, all the data must be ready. And before 7:30, our first meeting with Minister, we already prepared something. Because backliners are the one who prepare the strategies. We prepare the data. We must know where the enemies are, what sort of weapon we need to do. All these, the strategies come from backliners. From these strategies, then we send to frontliners, where they have to go, where they want to do MCO, where they want to do TMCO, where they want to do this testing. So backliners, frontliners, all of you play very equal role in managing COVID, particularly in the hospital setting, which under my portfolio. Next. And thank you, all our heroes. We love you all. We got this, and please, we got this, and please stay safe. This is not what I said. Next. Last and not least, Delima Slasit, Duku Mengkudu, terima kasih. Love all of you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rohaizat. Very touching talk, and thank you for sharing all this information. Even though many of us participants of this conference are Ministry of Health staff, there are many things that you share with us that we do not know. And we are so glad. Again, thank you for your leadership and the hospital preparedness. You can see that even though the number are small, we are very glad to hear also that the number of deaths is also very small. We are very proud of our achievement, and through your sharing of this talk, we know more about just the secrets of our success. Many times when NIH researcher have video conference or Zoom talk with collaborators from other countries, they want to do about collateral damage, they want to do project about how many people miss a chemotherapy or renal dialysis, and we said, no, we have a very strategized hospital sharing of tasks, and our non-COVID patients are not affected. They were very surprised, seriously. And then I realized, oh, I thought many countries will do that. So Dr. Rohaizat, thanks again for your sharing, and thank all your staff who sacrificed so much. Not only no Hari Raya, cannot go home for some of them, and certainly we know better is not over, and we are so glad that you're back in this fighting together for the success of lowering or even eliminating COVID-19 soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato'. Thank you to all. Love you all.
Me too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.